You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
Today is June 13th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazis, and this is T-Minus.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS. Egress. Go for deploy. Roger, roll. 5.
FAA closes the Starship Flight 8 mishap investigation.
4.
BAE Systems and Hanwha Systems sign an international market MOU.
3.
The EU clears SES's $3.1 billion bid for Intelsat.
2.
NATO awards a 7-figure contract to Planet Labs.
1.
A new GAO report says to expect delays on the Space Force's next-gen OPIR satellite.
0.
And as we do every Friday, we have our space traffic report from our partners at nasaspaceflight.com. What went up in the last week and what's going up soon? Well, we'll fill you in. Second half of the show, don't miss it. Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for joining me. According to a new report by the U.S. Government Accountability Office, or the GAO, the launch of the Space Force's first next-gen overhead persistent infrared, or OPIR satellite, will be delayed to no earlier than March 2026. Originally scheduled for late this year, the delay is tied to both technical development challenges and, quote, a crowded 2025 launch manifest. This is one of many insights from a new GAO Weapons Systems Annual Assessment just published this week that takes a look at many projects in the Department of Defense timeline. Across the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force, the GAO says, and I quote, the Department of Defense continues to struggle with delivering innovative technologies quickly and within budget. Taking a closer look at many Space Force projects in the pipeline, the GAO report confirms, despite earlier delays, that the OPIR satellite is still expected to be delivered in September 2025. But even if it does hold that delivery schedule, it will still need to wait for a slot in the launch queue, and that will also result in cost increases. A reminder that this program replaces the legacy space-based infrared system with a modern, more distributed missile warning architecture. It includes 2 satellites in geosynchronous orbit built by Lockheed Martin and 2 in polar orbit by Northrop Grumman. NATO selected Planet Labs for a new 7-figure contract to deliver daily monitoring and intelligence across key strategic areas. The exact amount was not disclosed. Planet will provide a platform that combines its broad area monitoring satellite data with AI and machine learning analytics. The system will support NATO's surveillance, early warning, and maritime domain awareness efforts. NATO plans to use broad area detection to identify anomalies across wider regions and to strengthen NATO's indications and warning capabilities. The approach aims to improve situational awareness and help decision makers respond more quickly to emerging threats. Planet's involvement supports NATO's Smart Indications and Warning Broad Area Detection, or SINBAD program. In a press release about this contract, NATO leaders say that this collaboration helps the alliance to strengthen deterrence, manage complexity, and deliver real-time insight to its forces. It's official now. The European Commission is unconditionally approving the $3.1 billion SES acquisition of its rival Intelsat. The deal had been technically pending antitrust approval before it could be officially official, but now Brussels has given its blessing and the deal will go through. The Commission concluded that the transaction would not raise competition concerns in the European Economic Area, said the Commission in a press release, and that is the green light for these two Luxembourg-headquartered companies to join forces and put some added competitive pressure on SpaceX's Starlink and, increasingly, Amazon's Project Kuiper. BAE Systems and Hanwha Systems have signed a memorandum of understanding to co-develop a multi-sensor satellite system aimed at international markets. The companies plan to combine BAE's ultra-wideband RF sensors with Hanwha's expertise in synthetic aperture radar. The goal is for the companies to build an advanced ISR platform, one that collects RF and SAR data, processes it on orbit with edge computing, and then delivers intelligence using machine learning. Leaders from both companies say the collaboration supports growing demand for space-based surveillance capabilities. The UK and South Korea see this as a strategic partnership that expands each country's role in the global space economy. In the announcement about this MOU, by the way, BAE also reaffirmed plans to launch its first satellite cluster, called Azalea, next year. That mission will support broader threat awareness from low Earth orbit and reflects BAE's wider commitment to international space collaboration. And our last story is a brief FAA update about the SpaceX Starship Test Flight 8 mishap. Here's the update from the FAA in full. The FAA-required investigation of the SpaceX Starship Flight 8 mishap is closed. There are no reports of public injury or damage to public property. The FAA oversaw and accepted the findings of the SpaceX-led investigation. The final mishap report cites the probable root cause for the loss of the Starship vehicle as a hardware failure in one of the Raptor engines that resulted in inadvertent propellant mixing and ignition. SpaceX identified 8 corrective actions to prevent a reoccurrence of the event. The FAA verified that SpaceX implemented corrective actions prior to the Starship Flight 9 mission. And there you have it. The mishap investigation for Flight 9 is still ongoing, and that needs to conclude before Starship Test Flight 10 is clear to fly. And that is our Friday Intel briefing for you. Links to today's stories as well as further reading are all waiting for you in our show notes. Check them out on our website. Just head on over to space.n2k.com. Hey, T-Minus crew, tune in tomorrow for T-Minus Deep Space. It's our show for extended interviews, special editions, and deep dives with some of the most influential professionals in the space industry. And tomorrow we have Clay Mowry of AIAA talking about his vision for the organization. Check it out while you're recovering from a busy week at the IREC or getting ready for a lovely Father's Day weekend of being celebrated and pampered, I'm sure. You don't want to miss it.
And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker. Keeping your system secure shouldn't mean constantly reacting to threats. ThreatLocker helps you take a different approach by giving you full control over what software can run in your environment. If it's not approved, it doesn't run. Simple as that. It's a way to stop ransomware and other attacks before they start, without adding extra complexity to your day. See how ThreatLocker can help you lock down your environment at www.threatlocker.com.
Our partners at NASASpaceflight.com have our weekly space traffic report now on all the launches that were in the last week and those that will be in the coming week.
I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and this is your weekly space traffic report for T-Minus Space. Starting off the week, we had the launch of a Falcon 9 from Florida on June 7th at 4:54 UTC. The rocket was carrying the SXM-10 satellite for satellite radio company SiriusXM into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. This satellite adds on to the existing fleet of broadcasting satellites by SiriusXM and was the fourth launched on a Falcon 9 rocket. In a departure from usual missions by Falcon 9 to geosynchronous transfer orbits, or GTOs, This one included a deorbit burn of the second stage after satellite deployment for a targeted re-entry and disposal over the Pacific Ocean. On past Falcon 9 missions to GTO, the rocket's second stage was left in the same transfer orbit as the payload due to the high energy of the orbit. But this mission in particular carried a rather heavy satellite. The SXM-10 is believed to be roughly 6.4 metric tons in mass at launch, which means Falcon 9 can't quite put it all the way to a standard GTO, an orbit where the highest point is at the altitude of geostationary orbit, roughly 36,000 kilometers above Earth. Instead, the highest point of the deployment orbit was just under 22,000 kilometers. This meant that the Falcon 9 second stage ended up in an orbit that was just low enough that it could still be deorbited after deploying the satellite. And from a Falcon 9 from Florida, we now go to one from California, launching on June 8th at 1420 UTC. This one was carrying a batch of 26 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. The first stage for this mission, B1088, was flying for a seventh time, and it successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. Bouncing back over to Florida, just a few days later, there was another Falcon 9 launch on June 10th at 1305 UTC. This one was also a Starlink mission, but carrying a mixed batch of Starlink V2 Mini and Starlink direct-to-cell satellites. As usual, the first stage for this mission was flight-proven, flying for a 12th time. It successfully returned to Earth, landing on the deck of Just Read the Instructions. And to take a quick pause from Falcon 9 rockets, we had the launch of an Electron on a mission called the Mountain God Guards. Liftoff took place on June 11th at 1531 UTC from Rocket Lab's own Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. For this mission, Electron was carrying the QPS SAR-11 satellite into low Earth orbit. This was the fourth launch of a QPS SAR satellite by Rocket Lab for the Japanese Earth observation company IQPS. These satellites are part of a constellation that use large deployable X-band antennas to perform regular synthetic aperture radar imaging of the Earth. And we had even more launch activity squeezing in right at the end of the week with another Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg carrying more Starlink V2 mini satellites. The first stage for this mission, B1081, was flying for a 15th time, becoming the 15th booster to reach this milestone. Kind of fun when you think about it, right? 15s. And the fifth and final Falcon 9 of the week happened not long after from the other coast of the United States, carrying another batch of Starlink V2 Mini and Starlink direct-to-cell satellites into orbit. The first stage for this mission, B1078, was flying for a 21st time and successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas. Going into next week, we of course expect more Starlink launches. No surprise there. We're also hoping to see whether SpaceX can finally launch the Axiom 4 mission to the ISS. Next week, we also have an Atlas V by United Launch Alliance carrying the second batch of operational Kuiper satellites for Amazon. That launch is currently targeted for no earlier than June 16th at 1725 UTC, but we'll see if the Florida afternoon weather allows it to launch on time. Next week, we may also have a potential Angara in its most powerful configuration launching from Plesetsk in Russia, and there may also be a launch or two from China sneaking into the schedule as well. As usual, for real-time updates, check out nextspaceflight.com or download the app on your phone where you can get all kinds of launch alerts and even notifications about Starship testing. There may be some of that happening soon too. I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and that's your weekly space traffic report. Now back to T-Minus Space.
We'll be right back.
And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.
And that's it for T-Minus for June 13th, 2025, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like the show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to space@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. And I'm your host, Maria Varmazis. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
T-minus